What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the channel. In today's video we're going to be working on this 2018 GMC Sierra 2500. This does have the Duramax in it. It is also lifted and it's rocking some 22 by 12s, and wrapped around it are some 37 by 12 and a halfs by 22, obviously. With this truck, it is riding a little rough, and a contributing factor could be the cupping in the tires. Also, it's making a bad I guess vibrating sound or a whirring sound, and once I got the truck up in the air, I don't know if we can hear this clicking. Let's get the microphone. Hopefully we got that caught on the microphone. I did do the other side already as practice, and we're going to get started on this side. The clicking sound on the other side, once I replace the part, is gone. That just tells me that this side is bad as well. The wheel bearing we will be using is Mevotech or Mevotech. Not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it is their TTX or Extreme line. And what sold me on this was it was in the, I guess, heavy duty section, and they have a limited lifetime warranty. So that just tells me that this is a product slash company that stands behind their product. And it does kind of look cool. It's got these blue coated bolts that hold the wheel bearing to the knuckle, and then the whole thing is I'm pretty sure it's powder coated black, along with the studs as well, if I could get it out of here. There we are, and it does come with a speed sensor or ABS sensor as well. Whole assembly. The first thing we want to do is work on getting the truck lifted up in the air. Get this jacked up. I've got my jack right here, and I've got it sitting on a jack stand. Jack stand is supporting most of the weight, and then the jack is just there as backup. Once you get that up in the air, then we can work on getting the wheel off. Is get rid of the lug nuts. I've already gotten a head start on this. Got the key for these lugs, and then I have a 22-inch socket. Come on. There we go. If the lug nuts get stuck in the socket, sometimes what I do is I'll just thread it back on a few threads and then just wiggle it around. Hopefully that's a decent camera angle. Right now we are right behind the caliper, and I probably need to look into getting extended brake lines. I just picked up this truck, so bear with me. 21s. We've got a 21 right here and a 21 right there. Let's get this one. Oh, man. When I tell you those suckers are on good, they are on good. Oh, man. So this one, let's see if I could try again. Woo! If you don't have superhuman strength like I do, good luck. A longer breaker bar probably would have done the job too. Set this bolt aside. It's really windy out here today. Just pry this off the rotor. And then get yourself some sort of bungee cable or ratchet strap, because we don't want this hanging by the brake line. I'm gonna go ahead and just wrap it around that, and then I'll hang it on the upper control arm. So that's how I have it. Caliper hanging with the bungee cord. on the upper control arm. All right, now that we've got the caliper off the rotor, we want to go ahead and, if your truck has this is basically an assembly screw. This is a T30. So I've got my T30 and I've got my impact. Make sure you're there or in there good. Look at that, didn't strip it. All right, we'll set that aside. Caliper comes right off. Now that was actually pretty easy. Might be due to this truck coming from Texas. If your caliper is stuck on here good, just give it a couple of whacks around the caliper and usually it comes off. So next we'll go ahead and remove this axle nut. This is a 34 mil. I do recommend power tools. If you don't have power tools, your job, or this job, will be difficult. So. You see how this hub just wants to spin? There you go. You probably could have removed the axle nut as like the first step, like while the wheel was on the ground and all that, just remove your center cap, but we've got power tools. All right, now the next step, we've got 4 bolts holding the wheel bearing to the knuckle. We've got 4 21s. I've got my 21 millimeter socket here. And then again, get yourself a long breaker bar. If I can, there we go. Make sure we're in the off. Just give it some muscle. Come on. Again, superhuman strength. Work on breaking the bottom one here. Time to break the other side. Get the bottom one. Now that we've got this wheel bearing pretty much taken apart from the knuckle, before we pull this thing off, we want to follow this ABS line, and because this is on a lifted truck, they probably removed whatever fasteners it was hooked up to. So in my case, it's just hanging loose and it's going up to this connector right here. And to disconnect this connector, there's a red tab that you want to pry up. Hopefully I could do this one-handed. So I don't know if you can see that. That red tab went up. And then press on the black tab right there. I might need 2 hands. And just like that, we've got it removed. So you can kind of see where the tab wants to hang on to that. All right. Next, what I like to do is just get rid of some of the surface rust. And then I'll probably add a little bit of anti-seize to all these mating surfaces. Don't have to do this step, but I just like to do this stuff. got the surface cleaned up compared to how it used to look. Another thing you could do is just kind of chip at the larger rust pieces with like a flathead screwdriver, or get a wire brush in here. So I'm just gonna scrape off all the thicker pieces. Nothing crazy. And I'm just gonna go in with a small layer of anti-seize. For the anti-seize, I've got this stuff right here. Now, I don't know if I'm missing like a rubber seal that goes within that groove, or if that's just like that, but maybe the people who installed this lift kit never transferred that part over from the original knuckle. And I don't see a rubber ring in the box with the new bearing, so I'm just going to leave it as is. So the only reason I'm applying this is because I've had nightmare wheel bearing jobs to the point where I couldn't even get the wheel bearing off the knuckle, so I just ended up replacing the whole spindle / knuckle assembly. So that's why I'm kind of doing this, especially living in Michigan, aka part of the Rust Belt. There you go. And then I'll add some to the wheel bearing as well, or the mating surfaces. Basically, wherever metal is going to touch metal, I'll add a little bit of this anti-seize stuff. So now I need to get the heat shield off the old bearing. And what I found helped is just get yourself a jack stand, sit it on the jack stand, and then grab yourself a rubber mallet. Just kind of beat it all around until it falls off. Now, you will probably bend this heat shield a little bit, but that's okay. We can bend it back into shape. And you can twist it around like that. Not sure why they cut this opening. Interesting. There we go. So now, put this on the ground and just kind of beat it into shape a little. But once we get this pressed in with the knuckle and the bearing, it'll press back into shape. So very quickly, before I start assembling everything, I'm going to add a little bit more of this magical stuff, this anti-seize. And I know the surface is already powder coated or painted, but it doesn't hurt. Okay. And then make a note of where your ABS sensor is relative to the knuckle and relative to the heat shield. So the heat shield will go on like that. Now it probably won't fit. Oop, is that broken? Which way does it go? Go. All right, and now we can get this up onto the knuckle. We've got our 4 bolts right here. That'll go into the back of the knuckle. We'll have those ready on the side. All right, now that we've got the bearing up against the knuckle, we're going to go ahead and start with our 21mm bolts. They supply you with 4 of these, at least Mevotech or Mevotech does. And what's cool is they already have some thread lock on it. First up, you want to hand thread them on, right? Always try to make it a good habit to always hand thread things on first before you use tools. So we're gonna hand thread all 4, get them hand tight, and then probably what I'm gonna do is tighten them almost in a crisscross pattern or like a star pattern. So we'll go crisscross, right? That way we're evenly pressing this thing on as we tighten it on. All right, so according to the interweb, these 4 spindle bolts should be torqued down to 133 foot-pounds. So I've got this set to 133, and I'm gonna do my crisscross. Okay, so just spin it till you hear it click. There we go. Go. All right. Okay. So the next step, I'm gonna go ahead and I guess we can feed this around. There's 2 holes, at least on the back of this knuckle. Secure that. And just feed this up. Connect it to our ABS sensor line. Clicks right in, and then don't forget that red tab. Push it down. So now I'm gonna grab my rotor, and it's up to you whether you want to put this back on with that assembly screw, or if you want to just put it on without it. Since I have the assembly screw, I'm gonna go ahead and reuse it. So why they call it, or why I call it an assembly screw, is because when these trucks or cars are being made and they want to hold this in place for the next process in the assembly line, they just use a screw like that to hold the rotor to the bearing. So I'll grab my screw here. And again, you always want to hand thread things on first. So I'll grab my T30 and thread it on. And then grab my impact, just give it a little tap. All right, and if this doesn't come off for you initially, what you can do is just drill it out. This is made out of some soft aluminum. It's made so that you can drill it out. All right, that's installed. So for some reason, the axle nut they provide doesn't fit onto my CV axle, and I'm wondering if because this is also used for Silverado 1500s or something, or if I just have aftermarket CV axles maybe, but we're just gonna go ahead and reuse my old one. Now don't forget, the there was a washer. We'll put the washer. I'm pretty sure they recommend replacing these anytime they come off, but I don't have a replacement at the moment, so I'm just going to go ahead and reuse this. In the meantime, I'm just going to hand thread it on, and then we want to torque this down to 188 foot-pounds once this is either on the ground or we get a jack up underneath it. You basically can't torque it down until it's under its regular tension, if that makes sense. So we'll leave that loose for now, and we can start getting the caliper back on. I went ahead and released this caliper from the bungee cord, and now we're just going to feed it back onto the rotor. You could start with one end, so top end or bottom end, and then just kind of shimmy it on. And as always, you always want to hand thread things on first. So I'm going to go ahead and hand thread on these 21mm bolts. It looks like they had some Loctite on it. I'm just going to reuse it. Unless you want to add some more Loctite, be my guest. Look at that. Now that we have these two 21mm bolts pretty much hand tight, we'll go ahead and grab our torque wrench or torque ratchet, whatever this is called. We'll set it to 220 or 221, can't remember. It's close enough. We'll go ahead and do 220. 220 foot-pounds, come on. There we go. And then we'll spin it till we hear it click. Alright, I'm gonna need some muscle for this. It's just such a weird angle. There we go. Alright, so before I get the wheel on, just want to make sure that everything is assembled and make sure this line is not going to interfere with any of the suspension or moving components. Got to secure right there. Need a new brake line probably, or extended brake line. Got caliper installed, 4 bolts installed. Axle nut we're going to tighten down once this truck is on the ground and get access to the center. Other way you can do this is get a second jack it up, and have somebody hold on to the brakes, and then you can tighten it down to 188. But because I don't have anyone else with me, we're just going to go ahead and install the wheel, get it back on the ground, and then secure that back to 188 foot-pounds. All right. And as always, we want to start these lug nuts by hand, and then we can use our power tools, and then use our torque ratchet wrench. What is that thing called? I'll get it right someday. I'm personally not a fan of the whole offset look on the lift kit, but I couldn't pass up the deal on this truck. I'm slowly starting to like the way this thing looks. All right. I'll grab our Ugga Dugga tool, get our 22 on it, our key. So because these lug nuts are dirty, I'm just gonna spray a little bit on the outside so that my key doesn't keep getting stuck on them. Okay. You don't want to really get that stuff on the threads. think they're all on. Okay. Now we'll get this thing on the ground. Now we just need to torque everything down and then get the center cap back on. So we'll start with the center. Hopefully we'll reach with this. We'll get this down to 188. Okay. I'm pretty sure adding an extension on this reduces this torque, so I might just give it a couple more clicks. Alright. For the lug nuts, they call for 140. Get that to 140. Come on. All right, 140. And star pattern, or at least as best as possible.
One, two, three, four, 5, 6.
Lost count. I guess one thing you can do is just go all the way around in case you missed any.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So very quick. Got it back up in the air. Just want to verify that we got rid of the clicking. No more clicking. And what you're hearing is just the brake pad rubbing on the rotor. Alright guys, so that pretty much wraps it up for doing a wheel bearing on these GM 2500 series trucks. Pretty sure it applies to other years for this truck, but hopefully this video helps you out. If I missed anything, please feel free to drop it down in the comment down below. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop those as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to do more of this kind of stuff. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.